Thank you, Trisha. Welcome in, everybody. That's so cute. Welcome in. How's everybody doing? Happy Thursday. Hi, Rabbit Hole. Hi, Lily. Hi, Margaret. Hi, Justin. Hi, Ravens. Hi, Krissa. Oh, that's so sweet, Krissa. You're so cute. I get excited too. I can't wait. Every day. Thank you, Lily, for the bloomin' hearts. Marie, thanks for the cozy cryptids. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hi, Lady Rose. Hi, TR. Yes, Mark, welcome in. My name's Devin, and I tell spooky bedtime stories to help you relax your nervous system and fall asleep better. Hi, Ghost TV. Thanks for the cozy cryptids. Hi, Lemons. Welcome back, everybody. Happy Thursday. And we hang out here every night on the porch, and we vote on which stories we want to hear. And we have a lot of fun. So welcome to the porch, Mark. Hi, Crapper. Cragger. Hi, Cragger. I thought it said Crapper. I was like, oh my God, that's a name. Hi, Cragger. How are you? Hi, Ange. Ghost TV, I love it in your live too. It's so fun. Hi, Sharper. You answered both. Great answer. I love that. Allotment Plot, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the porch. Welcome in, everybody. Yeah, Queenie Beanie, how are you? I'm live. Hi. Happy Thursday. Hi, asking questions. I'm good. How are you? Nice to see you over here. Yep, I just usually wait for people to come in, and then people write their requests for stories they want to hear, and then I put up a poll and we vote. So we usually start the first story about 10:30. And welcome in, Queenie Beanie. My name's Devin. Hi, Dusty. How you doing? Hi, Tanya. No, Tanya, I'm only on during the day on Wednesdays. So I was on during the day yesterday. Hi, Alex. Hi, Carrie. Welcome in, everybody. Good, Wookie. I'm so glad. I'm proud of you. So, I bet you're so relieved. All right, you guys, if you guys want to start writing. Queenie, I just read my stories that I write. They're all available on my YT channel too. But if you have like a suggestion or an idea, like local folklore, or if you have something that's happened to you personally, I will turn that in. I can turn that into a story, and you can just email any suggestions or ideas that you have to porchlore@gmail.com. I love hearing people's personal accounts. It's my favorite thing. Hi, Bravo. Welcome in. Hi, James. All right, you guys, feel free to write your requests for stories in the chat in all capital letters on TT so I can see them clearly and catch them in the fast chat. And I'll be right back. I'm just going to write them down. Hi, Sparkle Tree. And welcome in, Queenie Beanie. I'm glad you're here. Also, thank you, Kim. There is a treasure box from Wookie. Yeah, thank you, Wookie. That's so generous. There's a treasure box up in the left-hand corner if you are on TT. It looks like a little treasure trunk. And if you open it, you get a super fan membership for a month. Oh, thanks, Queenie Beanie. You're cute. I like that little ghost. Tanya, that's a long time to have been on here. That's awesome. I'm just catching up on the chat, making sure I get all the story requests. Yeah, you can always email me any story suggestions, or if you have personal stories, that would be cool. Hello, Chris. Congrats, Cindy, level 15. Yes, Carrie, I didn't even know that was a thing, but for sure. Okay, TR, I got yours. Lily, I don't know if I saw your request, so you can just send it again. Ghost stories, Queenie. Okay, perfect. Then I will add the Greenbrier ghost on the list for you. And I'll add Eliza Crawford because she's a ghost too. And Huggin' Molly's on here and she's a ghost as well. So we got several. And in case you're wondering, Queenie, I'm cross streaming, so I'm talking to people on TT. I just started streaming on the other two, so I don't really have a lot of people yet on those streams. But on TT, there's lots of people over here. So thanks for finding me on YT, and welcome to the porch. Okay, Catherine, I got your footprints. Pippa, I got you for camper van. Oh, Laura got it. Congrats. Thank you, Trisha, for the jellyfish. Okay, let's see here. Thank you, Trish, for the manifesting crystal ball. Hello, Mads. Welcome in from Denmark. Glad to have you here. Thank you for the star map of Polaris. I love that one. I think that one's so cool. Hi, CJ. Hi, Mez. Hi, Decaption. Hi, Jen. Hello, Drachen. Draken. That's amazing, Mez. 500 minutes. How do I get to what decaption? Hi, Carmen. All right, you guys. I'm gonna set up the first poll with your story requests, and I will be right back. And if you guys could do me a big favor while I set up the next poll. Sherry, thanks for the fairy, and Trisha, thanks for the coral. If you guys could do me a big favor, yes, I do have Vampire Story. If you could do me a big favor and hit that share arrow in the bottom right hand corner, there is a yellow circle with 2 arrows chasing each other that says repost, and that puts my live into your friends' FYPs. Aw, thank you, Jen, for the big horn. God, it's so cute. All right, you guys, grab a beanbag chair, grab a hammock. Thank you for the sharing out, the taps, the reposts. And I will be right back with the first poll for us to vote. Jen, I love that one. It's so cute. I love its little nose and its smile and its little dance. Priscilla, thanks for the cozy cryptid. Okay, you guys, the first poll is ready. And Queenie Beanie, it's over on TT. I don't really know how to do it on YT yet because I just started streaming over here. But Justin, who just wrote a comment in the chat somewhere up here, he said, I will vote for any story you would like. Just let me know which one you like. So if you let him know, he's really sweet and he'll come over to the TT and vote for it. So once I tell the story names, feel free to type which one you'd like to hear in the chat. Okay, so the first one is The Ozarks Howler, which is the new story of the week. The second one is The Fresno Night Crawlers. The third one is The Deer Woman of Oklahoma. The fourth one is The Last Summer Carnival. And the fourth one is The Door in the Water. Again, we have The Ozarks Howler, The Fresno Night Crawlers, The Deer Woman of Oklahoma, The Last Summer Carnival, and The Door in the Water. And you can vote in the top left-hand corner, the blue box, and you can vote up to 50 times, and you can vote for more than one story. Yeah, Chance, that makes a big difference. There's really a line on volume, because I've done that before too. There's really a fine line between too loud that you're listening the whole time to just quiet enough to where your brain can shut off. And you guys can vote in the top left-hand corner. That's okay, Queenie. You guys can vote in the top left-hand corner in the blue box, or let Justin know which one you would like if you're on YT. And we have The Ozarks Howler, The Fresno Night Crawlers, The Deer Woman of Oklahoma. Okay, Sparkle Tree would like The Door in the Water, Justin. And then we have The Last Summer Carnival and The Door in the Water. Oh, good, Chance, good. Thank you, Justin. You're the best. All right. The Ozarks Howler's coming in first with The Door in the Water close behind. Who's it gonna be? Well, Queenie, you got your wish. And everybody else, The Ozarks Howler is the winner. Woohoo! All right. I will be right back. Give me 1 second to set up the background and the script. Aw, thanks, Chance. You're so sweet. The dictionary. Yeah, Amanda, it's the new story of the week. It just premiered on Monday. Thanks, TR. I really appreciate it. Would you rather have me call you TR or Jorge? I really appreciate it. When am I doing a rapping live? CJ, probably when I start doing my outdoor adventures, I'll probably just do it while I'm outdoors live. Hi, Joker. Hi, Rachel. All right, you guys, I will be right back with the tale of the Ozarks Howler. Hi, Seabass. Every time I see your name, it makes me want Seabass. It's my favorite fish. It's so good. Lily, yeah, I saw that. No, Lily, I haven't seen any of your... Oh, you're not writing them in capital letter. Oh, wait. No, I don't think I've seen them. I don't see them anywhere. I don't see your requests. What are you typing? Yeah, I think you're being filtered. Because I only see you saying, can you see my comments? What totally threw you, Mez? Put it in reverse, Terry. Kim, are you in here? Anything with a leprechaun? What? Gossett? What do you mean? Okay. Now I see it, Lily. You finally got through, girl. All right, guys, I will be right. Hi, Gardening Vixen. I'll be right back with the tale of the Ozarks Howler. Grab a beanbag chair, grab a hammock, sit back and relax, and welcome to the porch. Hi, Phil. Welcome in. Hi, Bree. Glad to have you back. Missed you. Yeah. Can I pet that dog? Can I pet that dog? Thank you, Rox, for the cozy cryptids. Thanks, Mez, for the moonwalking shoes. Jen, thanks for the tiny track. Brie, I had the same thing happen to me too. I didn't go for a long time and then I went and I was like, oh. Submitted for the approval of the Porch Pal Society. This is the tale of the Ozarks Howler. You mean instead of where, Lady Rose? Oh, you mean versus the premiere? Or what do you mean? Most people outside of the Midwest have never heard of the Ozarks Howler. And honestly, even most people inside the Midwest treat it like one of those regional campfire stories. Something local parents use to keep their kids from wandering too far past the tree line after dark. But if you spend enough time in southern Missouri or northern Arkansas, especially around the older mountain towns where the roads narrow into gravel and the forests seem to swallow whole stretches of civilization, you start hearing about it in ways that don't sound like folklore anymore. The first time I heard the name was an old newspaper clipping pinned to the wall of a roadside diner outside Branson. It was framed between yellowed photographs of flood damage and a missing persons flyer from the 70s. The clipping described a farmer in the 1920s who claimed he saw a beast the size of a bear with glowing eyes, horns like a ram, and a cry so unnatural that it made his livestock slam themselves bloody against their pens trying to escape. Now, depending on who you ask, the Ozarks Howler is described as a shaggy black beast with horns and glowing eyes. Others say it looks more like an oversized mountain lion with malformed hind legs. Some insist it has tusks. Others swear it has a tail tipped like a spear. The only consistent detail in every version is the sound. Witnesses describe it as something between a wolf, an elk scream, a woman shrieking, and metal grinding against itself. A noise so wrong that hearing it allegedly causes nausea, panic, and even temporary paralysis. Stories of the creature date back to at least the early 1800s, with settlers in the Ozarks recording encounters with what they called the devil cat or the hated beast. Some folklorists believe the legend may be older, adapted from indigenous oral traditions, warning against supernatural creatures and spirits that live deep in the hills and should never be followed after dark. Others think the creature was inspired by sightings of diseased bears or escaped big cats, or maybe simply just frontier paranoia. But if that were true, it should have faded. Thank you, Holly. I love that. Instead, the sightings have continued. Hunters disappearing after screams were heard in the woods. Farm animals found gutted but uneaten. Campers have reported eyes in the dark followed by sounds of no known animal in the area. Every few years, another sighting surfaces online or in local papers, usually mocked into oblivion by anyone who hadn't grown up near those woods. I rented a cabin near the Mark Twain National Forest. And if you've never heard of it, it's a very underrated, gorgeous national park in Missouri. The cabin looked charming. A wraparound porch, stone fireplace, private acreage. No neighbors for over a mile. And at the time, that last part sounded relaxing. The drive down was gorgeous. Late October had painted the hills in rust and gold. And every curve of the mountain road looked like something out of a postcard. Thank you, Mez. By the time I reached the cabin, the sun was already dripping behind the ridgeline, staining the trees copper. I noticed the large oak tree behind the cabin had large gashes in the bark. A little alarming, but just my reminder that bears do live there. The place itself sat alone at the end of a dirt road, with forest pressing close on all sides, dense enough that 10 feet beyond the clearing became shadows. The owner had left a binder of house rules and local recommendations on the kitchen counter, and tucked between the pages about Wi-Fi passwords and checkout instructions was a handwritten note warning guests not to leave food outside due to bears. But then under that, someone had scribbled in pen that if you hear something screaming in the woods, don't go looking for it. I laughed when I saw it. I assumed it was just some little joke the owner used to play up the spooky mountain aesthetic. Hi, Anthony. Later that night, I was sitting on the porch under a blanket, enjoying some greenery, with a little Bluetooth speaker playing music softly beside me. The night was almost unnaturally silent. Just the wind moving through the leaves. Every insect around me had stopped at once. And then I heard a sound from somewhere deep in the trees behind the clearing. Long and loud. It started almost like an animal call, and then it bent upward into something agonized and human enough to make every hair on my body stand up. It sounded wrong in a way that I can't properly explain, and not scary because it was loud. Scary because every instinct in me knew I was hearing something that I couldn't identify. The scream echoed across the hills, and then again, closer. I didn't move. The third scream came from a different direction entirely. Not deeper in the woods to my left, much closer. As if whatever made it had circled while I sat there. I went inside immediately and locked every door. I remember trying to rationalize it. A bobcat? A fox? A mountain lion, maybe? Animals can make horrifying noises. But I'd heard recordings of all those animals since, and none of them sounded like what I heard. I barely slept that night, and sometime after midnight, I woke to heavy footsteps moving across the wraparound porch. Boards creaked outside the bedroom window and then stopped, I held my breath. Then came a wet, snuffling sound against the glass, like something was smelling the window. Then I heard claws drag slowly across the pane. I stayed perfectly still until dawn. In the morning, I found muddy tracks on the porch, but nothing I recognized. Not a bear, not a dog. They were canine-shaped, but not normal. This only deepened my curiosity. I had to investigate. Just one short walk in broad daylight, just to check out the terrain, see if I noticed anything out of the ordinary. The trail wound through dense timber and limestone outcroppings. The kind of forest where visibility drops to nothing after 20 yards. Everything smelled of wet leaves and old stone. I had been walking maybe 40 minutes when I found the deer, or what was left of it. It lay half hidden in the brush off the trail. Its rib cage was torn open. Its hindquarters were untouched. The throat had been shredded so violently the head nearly hung loose. But almost no meat had been eaten. It appeared to have been senselessly killed. I turned around immediately, and that's when I heard branches snapping behind me. Thank you, Ohio Chick, I write them. Something large was moving through the woods, keeping pace, not charging, just following. I looked back once and I saw black movement between the trees. Low to the ground, and too large for a coyote and too fluid to be a bear. And then it stepped into a beam of sunlight maybe 30 yards off the trail. And that's when I saw it. Its body was shaped roughly like a massive wolf, but with weird proportions. Its front shoulders were too broad, and the hind legs were too long, and its spine sloped unnaturally downward like a hyena. Thick black fur hung in clumps across its frame, patchy in places as though diseased or scarred. Its head was oversized and broad-jawed, and it was crowned by two curved horn-like protrusions rising from above its ears. Its mouth hung slightly open, with strings of saliva swung from its teeth too long for its jaw. And then it screamed. Thanks, Mag. Welcome in. Not howled, but screamed. The sound hit me like a physical blow, and goosebumps immediately covered my body. And I ran. I have never moved that fast in my life. Branches tore at my face and roots caught my boots. Beside us, I could hear it crashing through the brush and shrieking in short bursts that sounded almost like it was excited. I burst from the trail into the cabin clearing with that thing still behind me. I slammed the door just as something hit it hard enough to shake the frame. And then another impact, and wood splintered near the hinges. At one point, it climbed onto the roof. I could hear claws scraping overhead. And then, silence. Long enough that I thought maybe it had finally left. But then, the power went out. And the cabin was plunged into darkness. And from directly outside the living room window, I saw 2 red eyes. I stayed huddled in the bathroom with a kitchen knife and a fireplace poker until sunrise. The thing was gone in the morning. My car, parked beside the cabin, looked like someone had attacked it with an axe. Doors gouged, windows shattered. Deep claw marks raked across the hood. The police came. Search teams came. Wildlife officers came. They found tracks, damage, even blood from where the creature had cut itself breaking the car glass. But no animal and no explanation. Officially, they blamed a bear. They always blame a bear. As I waited for the car rental shuttle to come pick me up, I sat down to catch my breath for a minute. And I noticed the cabin's guest book sitting on the coffee table. I opened it up to a bookmarked page. It was an entry from 6 years ago. A woman who had described the exact same thing. The screams, the eyes, the clawing at the walls. It was written in shaky hand, and she claimed the cabin owner built the property there intentionally. His grandfather had once owned the land, and he had believed the howler didn't just hunt randomly. It returned to places where blood had been spilled. And decades before that cabin was built, a massacre of the local indigenous people soaked that land with blood. The local story, according to the note, was that whatever the howler truly is, it doesn't simply live in the Ozarks. It is drawn to violence, to cruelty, to places where something monstrous has happened. And it comes again and again. She described the dozens of deep scratch marks carved into the oak behind the property, the one that I had noticed when I first arrived. Layer upon layer, some fresh, some scratches so old the bark had grown over them, as if something had been returning to that tree for generations. Maybe the moral of the story is that some places earn their legends. Some folklore exists because enough people survived the same terror to give it a name. Maybe the Ozarks howler is exactly what old mountain families always said it was. a thing that manifests when the land is soaked in blood. All I know is, if you ever find yourself in the Ozarks after dark, when the woods go silent, and you hear something screaming in the distance, don't convince yourself it's just a story. Because stories don't leave claw marks that deep. And that's the tale of the Ozarks Howler. Thank you, Brandy. And thank you, Lauren, for the paw scratch. And thank you, Mez, for the paw scratches. Thanks, Lisa. Justin, they said they're back now. It's done that a couple times. I don't know why. It comes back by itself. Sparkle Tree just said, we're back. No, it wasn't just you, Sparkle Tree. It went down apparently. But it looks like you guys are back, right, Nancy and Sparkle Tree? Yeah. I've been noticing that people are saying that one is not a sleepy time one. That one I must have written too scary. I'm sorry, you guys. I try to balance. Leslie, thanks for the moonwalk. I try to balance the level of scariness with enough for you guys to be able to sleep. But how long have I been doing this? I started doing the bedtime story lives at the end of November. Thanks, Kimberly. Oh, really, Diamond? Yeah, I'm not a true crime girly. I'm only paranormal girly. See, they're based off of actual accounts. I write them as if they happened to me, but these are all based off of things that people have reported have happened to them, or based off of true folklore. So if you believe in that stuff, and if you believe people's accounts, you know what I mean? So yeah, they're true, but I guess you have to believe in this stuff to believe it's true. Yeah, of course. See, yeah, I write all these myself too. So I do the research. I love folklore. So I always try to incorporate a little bit of the history of the folklore and, a little bit about the legend before going straight into the immersive, scary encounter. I like to, because I just really like folklore and I like to share the local stories of people have is it Glenda in here said that this is from basically where she lives. And so I think it's fun to have people share their different regional. So if you guys have any cool folklore suggestions, feel free to email porchlore@gmail.com. I don't check my email every day or anything. I usually check it once a week or maybe even less than that. But I do go through it and I write down all the story suggestions. I save them in a special story suggestion box and I reply to everybody once I've read it. So if I haven't replied to you, it's just because I haven't even read my email. Ever since I started the merch, I have been neglecting my email quite a bit. Yeah, exactly, Squeaks. And that's my favorite thing about folklore is that the people who don't believe it, that's okay. But these stories exist in some capacity all over the world, and they're all very similar. So, in my opinion, they've existed since before people had, cross ocean travel and stuff. These stories have existed since the beginning of humans could tell stories. So, to me, things like the Banshee, you can call her Huggin' Molly the Haint of Abbeville, Alabama, but she's a Banshee. And there's a reason these stories exist across the world in every culture. Me too, Christine. That's why I believe in this stuff, because maybe, I don't even know maybe some people can't see it. Maybe it was something that the vibration of the earth has changed and now these things aren't visible to us. I don't know. I don't really know. But all I know is that people didn't make this shit up across the entire world without you know what I mean? That's really, Leslie? You know what I mean? People, and here's the thing. Anything now, I feel like with the internet, it's like it would be easy to fake and make up things because, yeah, you can text someone and be like, let's do it. But back then, people weren't like, hey, all the way across the world. They didn't even have a way to contact each other. They weren't like, you want to tell each other, you want to write stories about seeing the same creature. I mean, that didn't happen. These people like saw that shit. So, oh my God, really, Leslie? Oh my God, that sounds really fun. Hi, Queen Lakota. Welcome in. Aw, Sparkles, don't worry. I won't. You're so sweet. Hi, Sophie. I am doing well. How are you? All right, you guys. Let me switch back to the porch so you guys don't have to stare at this scary guy anymore. And then I will be right back with the next poll. Happy Thursday. Okay, you guys, the next poll is ready. Hi, Hat Hag. All right. We have the Greenbrier Ghost, the Fresno Nightcrawlers, the Haint of Huggin' Molly, the Raincrow Shelter, and the Vampires of Dayton. You can vote in the top left-hand corner. There's a blue box. We have the Greenbrier Ghost, The Fresno Nightcrawlers, The Haint of Hug and Molly, Rain Crow Shelter, and The Vampires of Dayton. Who's it gonna be? Bye, Queenie. Sweet dreams. Have a good night. All right. Well, in a landslide. Hi, John. No, I'm a real human. I'm not AI. Welcome in. All right. In a landslide, the Vampires of Dayton have won. Lindsay, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the porch. So, if you guys give me a second, I will put up the new background and pull up the script, and we will get to the tale of the Vampires of Dayton. Missy Jane, thank you for the follow. Kay, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the porch. Happy Thursday, everybody. Hi, Ashley. Hi, Sunshine. Welcome in. Hi, Sherry. Oh, don't worry. Is it CLDJ? The poll is just on TT. I don't know how to do them yet on YT. I'm sorry. But we do have a lovely friend, Justin, who comes over and offers to vote for whatever you guys like. But as of right now, the poll is just on TT, so you guys can just like sit back and relax. You don't have to worry about it. Thank you, KLJB. And thank you, Holly. Really? On YT? That would be cool. Thank you. Okay, I would appreciate that. Thank you very much. Because I am on 3 platforms now, so. But TT's still the base because I'm like learning as I go with the other ones, so. And Lolita, you're so cute. That's so funny. Yep, staying busy. All right, you guys, I will be right back with the tale of the Dayton vampires. And John, all of the options are on my bedtime stories playlist on my YT channel. But if you join our Discord, I put a typed out list, but I premiere a new story every week, so it just gets added to. But you'll kind of get used to the stories once you hear more, and you'll develop favorites. But most people listen to my bedtime stories playlists on YT, and they have grown to have favorites that they would like to hear live. So I read all of those stories from my YT, but they're also on the podcast sites and stuff too. I love that, Justin. Thanks. Hi, Magical Mom. Welcome back, cutie. Queen Lakota, it's you. You're so cute. All right, guys, I'll be right back with the Dayton vampires. And while I'm getting this ready, if you guys could do me a big favor, if you could hit that share arrow in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a little yellow circle with 2 arrows chasing each other that says repost. And that puts my live into your friends' FYPs, and it helps us grow our beautiful porch. Also, sharing to your stories and tapping helps immensely. So thank you guys for being here. NTR, the Are You Afraid of the Dark stories are just live exclusives. Sorry, they're only for the lives. Okay, Trisha, I got your print request. Thank you. Yes, Queen Lakota 3. I'm also on T-Witch. Thank you, Bamba Boy Wonder. Submitted for the approval of the Porch Palace Society. This is the tale of the vampires of Dayton. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Misty and Jen. Hi, Zoe. Hi, Queen Cece. Of Dayton, like in Ohio. Let me share with you a tale that intertwines the ordinary streets of Dayton, Ohio, with whispers of the supernatural. A story that, while rooted in recorded accounts, has been embellished over time, adding layers of mystery and intrigue. It begins with a story in Dayton that's been passed down for generations. A tale whispered in darkened rooms and shared over late-night campfires. It's the kind of story that feels too strange to be true, but too eerie to ignore. And it begins with the Reeves family. One of Dayton's most prominent lineages, and it ends with a mysterious stranger named Dorian Blackwood. The Reeves family, long-standing residents of Dayton, were known for their deep roots in the community. Their lineage traced back generations, with ancestors who had settled in the area during its early development. The family was large, with numerous branches and connections throughout the region. They were respected members of society, and they were involved in various local businesses and social circles. The Reeves family had been part of Dayton's history since the beginning. They were one of those families that seemed blessed with everything: wealth, influence, and an enviable sense of mystique. Their sprawling Victorian mansion, perched on a hill just outside the city, was as much a landmark as it was a fortress of privacy. However, as with many old families, there were whispers. Some claimed the Reeves had made a pact with dark forces, trading their souls for eternal youth. Others believed the family carried a rare genetic anomaly that gave them their striking features and longevity. Some spoke of an unusual resilience, a certain vitality that defied the passage of time. Elders of the Reeves family often lived well into their 90s and 100s, maintaining sharp minds and robust health. While such longevity could be attributed to good genetics or a healthy lifestyle, the superstitious townsfolk began to speculate about a darker origin. And a more sinister theory began to emerge. One that connected them to an ancient, cursed bloodline, perhaps tied to vampirism. Thank you, Jeff. You'd hear it in passing at the market or over coffee at the local diner that the Reeves weren't like the rest of us. These murmurs were further fueled by the family's aversion to public gatherings during the day. While they were very active in the community, attending events and supporting local causes, it was always noted that they preferred evening engagements. Their large ancestral home had heavy drapes that were often drawn during daylight hours, casting the interior in perpetual twilight. And such peculiar behavior, though easily explained by personal preference, became the breeding ground for more sinister interpretations. Despite the rumors, the Reeves kept to themselves, attending only the most exclusive gatherings and rarely mingling with the general public. Their avoidance of daytime events didn't go unnoticed, nor did their penchant for hosting elaborate evening soirees that lasted well into the night. Those lucky enough to attend their parties often described the mansion as otherworldly, with its labyrinth halls lit by dim chandeliers and windows perpetually cloaked by heavy velvet drapes. The Reeves parties were legendary, filled with strange rituals, cryptic conversations and a sense of something unspoken lingering in the air. But things took a dark turn in the late 19th century around the time Dorian Blackwood appeared in Dayton. Nobody knew where he came from. One day he was simply there, renting an old decaying mansion on the outskirts of town. Dorian was the kind of man you couldn't ignore. He had a presence that commanded attention. Tall, pale, and impeccably dressed in the finest European fashions. Thank you, Nancy. His dark eyes seemed to see straight through people, and his voice, though rarely heard, left an impression. Dorian quickly became the subject of town gossip. He was rarely seen during the day, venturing out only after the sunset to walk the cobblestone streets or visit the library. Where he would pore over ancient texts and historical records. Some said he was a scholar or perhaps an eccentric collector of forgotten knowledge. Others speculated he was a fugitive hiding from something or someone. And it wasn't long before Dorian crossed paths with the Reeves family. The Reeves seemed to welcome him with open arms, and soon he was a fixture in their inner circle. But his presence didn't sit well with everyone. The few townsfolk who had had dealings with Dorian described feeling an unexplained unease in his presence, as if he carried a darkness with him that couldn't be ignored. Around this time, strange events began to plague Dayton. Livestock were found dead and drained of blood, with no clear explanation. Residents reported waking up with inexplicable puncture marks on their necks, feeling weak and disoriented. The local doctor, baffled by these cases, could offer no medical explanation, and whispers of vampires spread like wildfire. And the Reeves family's connection to Dorian only fueled the paranoia. One particularly chilling account came from a young maid who worked in the Reeves mansion. She claimed to have seen Dorian in the dead of night, standing by a window and gazing out at the moonlit gardens, and she swore that he had no reflection in the glass. She left her position in the house the next day and never set foot in the mansion again. But the situation reached a breaking point when a prominent local woman, known for her charity work, was found dead in her home. Her body was pale and lifeless, with 2 faint marks on her neck. The townspeople were in an uproar, demanding answers and pointing fingers. And suspicion fell squarely on Dorian. But when a mob gathered to confront him at his mansion, they found it abandoned. Dorian had vanished without a trace, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a growing sense of dread. Good night, Glinda. In the aftermath, the Reeves family retreated further into isolation. Their parties ceased, and their once vibrant presence in Dayton faded into obscurity. Their mansion, once a symbol of their prominence, became a dark and silent place. Over time, the Reeves numbers dwindled, and by the mid-20th century, the family line seemed to have all but disappeared. The mansion itself fell into disrepair. But the story doesn't end there. Decades later, urban explorers and paranormal enthusiasts began investigating the old Reeves mansion. And what they found only added to the legend. Photographs taken inside the house revealed strange orbs of light and shadowy figures. EVP recordings captured faint whispers, and some visitors even reported feeling an overwhelming sense of dread. But one particularly eerie discovery was a journal found in the mansion's old library. Its pages brittle with age, and they contained cryptic warnings and writings about bloodlines, immortality, and rituals conducted under the light of a full moon. While the journal's authenticity remains a topic of debate, its contents reignited interests in the Reeves family and their connection to Dorian Blackwood. And as for Dorian, his fate remains a mystery. Some believe he moved on to another town, continuing his enigmatic existence elsewhere. Others think he met a darker end, perhaps at the hands of those who sought to stop him. And then there are those who whisper that Dorian never left Dayton at all, and that he's still there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to emerge once more. And that's the tale of the vampires of Dayton. Welcome in, everybody. If you're new here, my name is Devin, and this is Porch Lore, and I tell spooky bedtime stories to help you relax your nervous system and fall asleep. And I'm here every night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until about 1 in the morning. Also, Squeaks, thank you. I saw you in the chat earlier saying I'm worth the wait and stuff. I appreciate you. Appreciate people when you guys handle impatient people so I don't have to turn my bitch switch on. So thank you. Sergeant Rocks, what are you talking about? She's leaving already. I can't hear anything. Maybe swipe out and try to come back. Funny Bandcamp. Oh, Bamba Boy, I'm so glad. Welcome in. Thank you, Joker. All right, you guys, I'll set up the next poll for us to vote on the next story. All right, guys, the next poll is ready. Oh, Sparkle Tree, what happened to the people in the house? They just aged and died off. They didn't stick around town like they used to. They just kind of disappeared. Lore, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the porch. Oh, Jess, you're so cute. Thank you. All right, we have the next poll, and it is the Deer Woman of Oklahoma versus the Fresno Nightcrawlers versus the White Witch of Rose Hall versus the Footprints on the Lake versus an Are You Afraid of the Dark reworking called Apartment 214. You can vote in the blue box in the top left-hand corner. And you can vote up to 50 times a piece, and you can vote for more than one story at a time. Hi, Lori. Good night, Robin. Sweet dreams. And thank you, Justin. I appreciate that. Hi, Lady Rose. That little dino's cute. Hi, Ryan. I didn't see you come in. Biggest complainer. Hello. Thank you for the floating heart. Yeah, nobody wants the haunted silk stockings, Kim. What's going on? The Fresno Nightcrawlers are just, man. And the Footprints on the Lake only got one vote. Oh, that was close. That was so close. TR, what'd you say FYI about? Yeah, Lily, it's so, I cannot. Hi, Sergeant Rocks. Is the audio better now? Welcome in, everybody. If you're new here, my name is Devin, and this is Porch Lore. And I tell spooky bedtime stories to help you relax your nervous system and fall asleep. And I am here every single night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until about 1 in the morning. I do write and record all these stories myself, and they are all available for you to listen to whenever you would like on my YT channel and all of the podcast streaming sites. Just look for Porch Lore and you will find me. Also, the live recordings are available on my YT channel after the live is over. I do premiere a new one of these stories every Monday live on my YT channel at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so feel free to join us over there too. And the winner of the poll is Apartment 214, which is an Are You Afraid of the Dark reworking. So I'm going to get that one pulled up, and if you guys could do me a big favor while I'm pulling that up, if you could just hit that share arrow in the bottom right hand corner. There's a little yellow circle with two arrows chasing each other that says repost. That puts my live into your friends' FYPs, and it helps us grow this beautiful porch. And every time you guys do that, we get a lot more people in here, so you guys must have a lot of friends. So it's greatly appreciated when you repost, when you share it into your stories, and all of the tapping helps us get pushed out. So thank you for all the taps. I appreciate you guys immensely. Also, thank you so much for those of you who sent me the beautiful gifts so far. I love them, and I do rewatch the replays afterwards to look at the gifts again because I think they're so cool. So thank you so much. And I will be right back with the next story. Thank you, a username. I appreciate you. Nice to see you as always. Hi, Helch. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Shakan. Did I say it right? Shakan. Hi, Shakan. Did I say it right? Shakan. Hi, Suzanne. Hi, Diamante. I'm going to try it till I get it right. Shakan. Shakan. Is that right? Hi, Johnny. All you people saying Shaka Khan are really aging yourselves. Really aging yourselves. Lady Rose said, I was thinking that, but didn't type it. I love the honesty, Lady Rose. You're so cute. Hi, Mama Bear. Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Mace. Submitted for the approval of the Porch Pal Society. This is the tale of apartment 214. Stacy Cooper was going through a rough time. Her parents had split up, and she and her mom had moved into a tiny apartment across town. The place was cramped, smaller than they were used to, and it was filled to the brim with their belongings. Stacy could see that her mother was struggling to stay positive, and she admitted that it was all she could afford right now. Then suddenly the sound of breaking glass interrupted them. Stacy's dog, Bugsy, had knocked something over. Just as they started to clean it up, a voice startled from behind them. It was a man frowning. He told them that they couldn't park there. Stacy's mom, confused, said that she didn't think the manager would mind. They're in the middle of moving in. Then he proceeded to say that he was the manager and that we had to move our car now. The man stormed off and Stacy sighed. What a jerk. They went back to tidying up the apartment. And Stacy's mom asked her to head out and grab the broom. Stacy offered to go get it and she stepped out of the apartment. Outside, the night was quiet, except for the distant hum of the city. Stacy heard a noise behind her, startled, turned around and was like, "Mom, you scared me." Only to realize that her mother wasn't nearby. Stacy rolled her eyes and went back inside. The next day, Stacy was out again, but this time she wasn't alone. A girl around her age stood on the sidewalk nearby. "What are you doing?" the girl asked. Stacy froze for a moment. Who are you?" "I'm Angela. I live in the building." Stacy glanced at her. I didn't think anybody my age lived in the building. Angela smiled. "Yeah, I've seen you around, and not many kids live here. Want to hang out sometime?" "Maybe," Stacy said cautiously. "See you later then?" Angela asked, turning to leave. Yeah, bye." That afternoon, Stacy came home to find her mom waiting for her. She sat down and they had tea, and she noticed that they were finally starting to get settled in. And as the days passed Stacy made a new friend in the building. An elderly woman named Madeline Gogol. Madeline was an artist who had painted beautiful works in her youth. She didn't have any children of her own, but she did have a nephew named Frank. However, after Frank's family grew, they asked Madeline to leave. And she'd lost her home, her friends, and now lived alone in the largest apartment in the complex. Madeline shared stories with Stacy, and Stacy in turn helped Madeline with chores. The two quickly became close, filling the lonely voids in each other's lives. And one day, Madeline asked, "Stacy, would you mind terribly if I asked you to drop by tomorrow?" "Sure," Stacy said. "What's up?" "It's just a day in which I prefer not to be alone," Madeline said. "I'll be here," Stacy promised. Later that evening, Stacy ran into Angela again. Angela was excited, waving tickets in her hand. "Battle of the Bands," she said. "We're going, and we've got an extra ticket. Want to come?" "Right now?" Stacy asked. "Yeah, my mom's picking up my friends. You can meet them." Stacy hesitated. She really did need new friends her age. But she had promised Madeline that she'd visit. "Are you coming or not?" Angela pressed. Stacy paused for a minute, and then she ended up going to the concert. But something didn't sit right with her. When she returned home, the guilt gnawed at her. She had broken her promise to Madeline. The next day, Stacy rushed to Madeline's apartment to apologize. But to her horror, it was empty. Everything. Furniture, paintings, all of it was gone. In a panic, Stacy ran to the building manager, and she asked him if the lady in apartment 213 had moved out. He looked at her puzzled and said no one had lived there for years. Stacy was so confused, haunted by her broken promise. She couldn't shake the feeling that Madeline wasn't just gone, she was gone forever. Days passed and the guilt continued to weigh on her. And then one stormy night, while Stacy was alone in the apartment, a knock echoed through the door. Then the door creaked open, and standing there, pale and cold, was Madeline. "You broke your promise," Madeline whispered. "I waited for you that day. It was my anniversary." "Anniversary?" Stacy stammered, backing away. "Yes. 50 years ago, on that very day, I died in that apartment." Stacy screamed as thunder boomed overhead. And all of a sudden she woke up, and it was morning, and the storm had passed. She couldn't shake the terror of the dream she had the previous night. So she ran back to Mr. Hordstrom again to ask about who had lived in that apartment. He said it was the largest one in his complex, and every time someone moved in, they left just as quick. Something always scared them away. He couldn't keep it rented. Weeks later, Stacy and her mom were settled into a new, larger apartment in the same complex. apartment 213. Stacy knew that Madeline's spirit lingered nearby, but this time, Stacy wasn't afraid. And she had made up for her broken promise because now, Madeline would never have to be alone again. And that's the tale of apartment 214. Thank you, Vampire. Hi, Kara. Hi, Lisa. Thank you, Mace. Thanks, Kim. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, guys, the next poll is ready. We've got The Hitchhiker, which is my favorite story. Hi, Des. Versus the Honey Island Swamp Monster. Versus The Wrong Turn. Versus The Whistler's Hollow. Versus The Mothman. And you can vote in the top left-hand corner. There's a blue box. We have The Hitchhiker, The Honey Island Swamp Monster, The Wrong Turn, Hollow, and The Mothman. And you can vote up to 50 times a person, and you can vote for more than one story at a time. Who's it gonna be? Captain, thank you for your first gift ever. And Jen, thank you for the bubbles. And the winner is The Wrong Turn. So I'll be right back with that. Oh no, Lorna, I didn't even see what you said. What did I miss? And if you're new here, welcome in. My name is Devin, and this is Porch Lore, and I tell spooky bedtime stories to help you relax your nervous system and fall asleep. And while I'm setting up the next story, if you guys could do me a big favor and hit that share arrow in the bottom right hand corner, and there's two circles chasing each other in a yellow circle that says repost, and that puts my live into your friends' FYPs, and it helps us grow this beautiful porch. And I will be right back with the winning story, which is The Wrong Turn. So grab a beanbag chair, grab a hammock, sit back and relax, and welcome to the porch. Good night, vampire, sweet dreams. Hi, Jade. Welcome back, Mandy. Submitted for the approval of the Porch Palace Society. This is the tale of the wrong turn outside Nakona. You ever take a wrong turn that changes your life? I'm not talking about metaphorical ones like marrying the wrong guy or choosing the wrong major. I mean a literal wrong turn. A single swerve off the highway that takes you somewhere you were never meant to go. Well, that happened to me in the spring of 2021. I had been on the road almost 9 hours hauling antique furniture from an estate auction in Kansas down to a collector in Fort Worth. I was alone, and my business partner Miranda had opted to stay behind and finish up paperwork. Honestly, I didn't mind. I like driving. It clears my head. Or at least it used to. My GPS was set for the fastest route, but right around dusk, the app lit up with a red warning, wreck on I-35. 3-hour delay. I groaned and hit reroute. And I took the suggested exit toward a back road near Nakona, Texas. 2-lane blacktop, no traffic, lined with fence posts and the kind of wide open ranch land that makes you feel like you're on the edge of the world. At first, I was grateful. The detour was beautiful and peaceful. wide open spaces. I passed a couple of rusted windmills that looked like a long abandoned filling station. The road curved through some low hills, and I didn't see another car for at least 45 minutes. Then the pavement turned to gravel, and I slowed down, but the GPS still insisted that this was the route. It said I was only 25 minutes from the highway again. So I kept going, crunching along a narrow stretch of road hemmed in by thick mesquite trees and barbed wire. Then the gravel turned to dirt. Not a smooth, well-used farm road, no. This was rutted, sun-baked red clay with patches of standing water. I probably should have turned around, but my van had good clearance, and I'd driven in worse in Mississippi. So I told myself it was fine. I told myself a lot of things that weren't true on that trip. About 5 miles in, I saw a sign. It was old, wooden, and barely legible. And in faded white paint, hanging sideways on one chain, read, Reverend's Hollow, 1 mile. It looked like it had been there maybe 50 years, maybe longer. I paused, took a picture of it for Miranda. She loves old Americana stuff. And I kept driving. The trees got thicker after that, and the light disappeared faster than it should have. Thank you, Suzanne. 1 minute, it was that golden hour glow through the windshield, and the next, it was dim gray. Like someone had turned down a switch on the sun. So I flipped on my headlights. About 10 minutes later, my cell signal vanished. Not low, not weak, just gone. SOS signal at the top. I remember laughing, nervous, stupid laughter. I hit the brakes, pulled over, and I looked around. The woods were close now. Thick trunks, dead leaves. No wind and no bird song. It felt heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. Still no bars on my phone. I tapped the GPS again, blank screen, map error. I wasn't lost, technically. The road was still there, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I had crossed into somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. I drove another half mile, and then I saw the buildings, if you could call them that. They were clustered in a clearing up ahead, maybe 4 or 5 of them, all made of gray, weather-worn wood. Thank you, Misty. Thank you, Vampire. Thanks, Suzanne. There were no power lines, no cars, and no movement. It looked like a ghost town, and not the charming tourist kind, just the forgotten kind. The kind that isn't on any map. But then I noticed something strange. There were no roofs. All the buildings were missing their roofs. Just hollow shells with sagging walls, leaning to each side like they were going to collapse. and there were symbols scorched into the wood. Charred circles with crude stick figures and runes that I didn't recognize. One looked like an upside-down triangle with an eye in the middle of it. I drove past slowly, watching with my windows up. Then I saw the first shadow. It was standing in the doorway of what used to be the church. At least, I think it was a church. The pointed arch was still visible, and there was a cross cracked in half nailed to the wall. The figure I saw was tall and thin, with limbs too long. I couldn't make out a face, but it turned slightly like it was watching me from the corner of its eye. I pressed the gas pedal to the floor, and I didn't stop until I was well past that clearing. I glanced in my rearview mirror, and I nearly drove off the road. There were more of them. More shadow figures, inhuman, long, creepy shapes, all standing in a loose line at the edge of the woods, watching the road. I don't remember much of the next few minutes, just panic. Just the sound of my own breath and the gravel hitting the undercarriage of my van. The dirt road twisted once more, and then I swear to God it just ended. No warning signs, no cul-de-sac, no turnaround, just a dead end. So I slammed on the brakes, and the van skidded sideways and stopped inches from a ditch. I was shaking now, and my hands were slick on the wheel. So I threw it in reverse, and I spun around. And that's when I saw the girl. She was standing in the middle of the road, wearing a white cotton dress, dirty at the hem. Long dark hair, bare feet. Her head was tilted just a little, and her arms were stiff at her sides. She didn't move. She didn't even blink. So I honked at her, and nothing. I rolled down the window a crack, and I told her that I needed to get through. She didn't speak. She just pointed behind me. I didn't look. I couldn't bear to. I backed the van into a narrow path that I hadn't seen before. A trail barely wide enough for a lawnmower, let alone a Ford Transit. But it was that or try to pass through her. The branches slapped against the sides, scraped the paint, and the van creaked, but I kept going. 10 minutes later, I was back on gravel and then finally pavement. And then somehow, miraculously, I found my way back to the main road. And then just like magic, my GPS blinked back to life like nothing had ever happened. The map refreshed and the highway was only 10 minutes ahead. When I got to the next gas station, I sat in the parking lot with the engine running, and I just sobbed into the steering wheel. I didn't even notice the scratches until I stopped for gas hours later. They ran all along the side panels, deep ragged gouges in the metal. There's no way these were from branches that I drove through. They looked like claw marks, 3 at a time in parallel. Too wide for an animal. I never told Miranda the full story, just that the route was hell and I hit some brush. But I did Google that name, Reverend's Hollow, and I found exactly one article from 1978. A small town paper out of Montague County ran a blurb about an isolated religious sect that vanished after a fire. The cult had built a tiny compound in the woods outside Nocona and refused all contact with the outside world. The locals called them the Hollowed Ones, and it was said that they worshipped something that lived beneath the trees. The fire ended up burning the entire compound, but somehow no bodies were ever recovered. No remains, no bones. Just a message scratched in the scorched wall of the chapel that said, "We are not gone, we are just waiting." At the very bottom of the article, there was a photograph, black and white and blurry. It showed 5 figures standing in the woods, and one of them looked like a tall man in a preacher's coat. Another was a small girl in a white dress, and the one in the center, towering over the rest, had no face. And that's the tale of the wrong turn outside Nocona. Thank you guys. Carmen, thank you for the hand hearts, and Khaleesi and Mary, thank you guys so much. Thank you for the love. Thank you, Sparkle Tree. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Spooky Cabins. And if you're new here, welcome in. My name is Devin, and this is Porch Lore. And I tell spooky bedtime stories to help you relax your nervous system and fall asleep. And I'm here every single night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time until about 1 in the morning. I do write and record all these stories myself, and if you want to listen to them when I'm not live, feel free to check out my YT channel or any of the podcast streaming sites where you will find these stories. On my YT channel, I do have a playlist called Bedtime Stories. Hi, thank you, Catmandu. Thank you, James. I did, Caitlin. They're very cool. I'm excited. And if you guys could do me a big favor and hit that share arrow in the bottom right hand corner, there is a yellow circle with 2 arrows chasing each other that says repost. And that puts my live into your friends' FYPs. You can always undo it and redo it as well. And it helps us grow this beautiful porch of ours. Thank you, Fear. I appreciate you checking out my YT. Thank you. Tammy, thank you for the follow and welcome to the porch. Welcome in. All right, you guys, now I am actually not feeling super great. So I am going to start the diner story now. We're going to start it a little early, probably about 10 minutes earlier than we usually do. Usually I can try to squeeze in another story. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm okay. My stomach just hurts. And thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And listen, I have done the show, Ask Jade. I have done the show when I had tonsillitis and pneumonia and walking pneumonia. So I do this even when I had a major cold last month, remember? But right now my tummy just hurts. So, oh yeah, no, it's okay. I'm still going to do the diner story. So oh, thank you, Sparkle Tree. Jade, yeah. So, I'm going to pull up the diner story now, and then I will be right back. So grab a beanbag chair. Yeah, pretty much, Jade. I think it's going around. Yep, quick. Yep, out of nowhere. Pretty much out of nowhere. So, grab a beanbag chair, grab a hammock, sit back and relax, and welcome to the porch. Good night, Lily. Sweet dreams. Good night, Mackenzie. submitted for the approval of the Porch Pal Society. This is the tale of the night shift at Sycamore Diner. I'm not usually the kind of person who pulls over on back roads at night. Not unless I absolutely have to. But that night, something about the storm, the long drive, and that growling pit in my stomach convinced me otherwise. I was hungry. It was late October and I was headed back to campus after a weekend visit with my friends in North Carolina. I had a midterm on Monday and my plan had been to drive straight through 5 hours, no stops. But then came the rain. One of those cold, slanted, whispery rains that creeps into your bones and makes the windshield wipers sound like a heartbeat. I had taken the wrong exit trying to bypass traffic, and I ended up on a 2-lane back road, surrounded by nothing but pine trees and power lines. And that's when I saw the neon sign. SYCAMRE Diner. The O in Sycamore was flickering like it hadn't worked right in years. But the rest was lit up in a cherry red neon. A tiny beacon in the middle of nowhere. Hi Angela, I missed you too. I figured I'd grab a quick bite, maybe some coffee, check my map, and get back on the highway. But I should have just kept driving. I should have known something was off the second I stepped inside. The bell over the door jingled, but not like a normal bell. It made this sharp metallic ping that echoed longer than it should have. The air inside was warm, almost too warm, and it smelled like grilled onions and pancake syrup. The place looked like it had been yanked straight from 1957. Checkerboard floor, red vinyl booths, a long counter with spinning stools, even a jukebox in the corner that looked like it hadn't worked in decades. And the people, they all stopped and looked at me the second I walked in. Not in a rude way, just quiet. Like they weren't expecting me. Like I'd walked into the middle of a sentence that no one wanted to finish. A waitress, tall, with a beehive hairdo and a light blue uniform, smiled and waved me over. "You get caught in the rain, sweetheart," she said, handing me a laminated menu. I nodded, still trying to shake off that weird feeling. Yeah, the highway's a mess. She chuckled and patted my shoulder. Well, you're safe here. Sycamore's always open for travelers. I sat down at a corner booth, and the vinyl creaked. And I remember the jukebox shifted songs by itself and started playing some slow doo-wop ballad that I didn't recognize. I looked around and everyone looked normal. Sort of. There was a trucker with a thick gray beard drinking coffee at the counter. A young couple whispering to each other in a booth by the jukebox. And an older woman stirring tea like she was lost in thought. But they all had the same look in their eyes, like they were there but also somewhere else. Like they were watching me out of the corner of their eyes, even when they were looking down. The waitress came back with coffee, strong, hot, and surprisingly good. and I ordered a grilled cheese with fries. Simple, safe. She wrote it down with one of those clicky pens and said, "Don't worry, it's on the house tonight." And that was my second red flag. No diner just gives food away. While I waited, I took out my phone to check the map. No signal, and I mean nothing. No bars, no Wi-Fi, not even GPS. Just a blank screen with a spinning wheel. I glanced out the foggy window, and the storm was still going. But now the wind had picked up, and I could hear the power lines swaying like jump ropes in the dark. But the diner stayed perfectly lit, not even a flicker. The food came fast, too fast, like under 5 minutes, but it looked amazing. Golden bread, gooey cheese, crispy fries with a little cup of ketchup on the side. I took a bite. Delicious. I mean, I've eaten at a lot of diners, greasy spoons, college joints, and roadside shacks, but this was hands down the best grilled cheese I've ever had. The fries were perfect, and the coffee never ran out. Every time I took a sip, it was somehow full again. I was halfway through the sandwich when the trucker got up to leave. He walked right past my table, nodded once, and whispered, "Don't stay past midnight." That's all he said. What? But he was already out the door. The waitress gave me a tight smile and walked over, collecting his empty mug. Old Earl, he's always saying weird stuff, just ignore him. But I couldn't. Something about his voice stuck with me. Something about the way he looked at me, not like I was a customer, but like I was in danger. I checked the clock over the register, 11:42. I figured I had just enough time to finish my fries, grab the check, and head out. I still had at least 3 hours left on the road. But when I stood up, the lights flickered, just once, and then again. And then everything in the diner stopped moving. The couple by the jukebox froze mid-sentence. The woman with the tea stopped stirring, her spoon hanging in midair. The waitress, her hand reached out for a mug, just stopped. Like someone hit pause on the entire scene. I took a step back, and the jukebox buzzed, glitched, and restarted in a new track. I could still move, but no one else could. And then I heard it. Not music, not a storm, a voice. Not coming from anyone I could see, just a whisper that seemed to echo from the walls. I backed toward the door, my heart hammering in my chest, and I turned the knob. Locked. Of course it was locked. I tried the windows, but they were sealed shut. I started banging on the glass and shouting, but no one was outside. Just the wind and the rain and that flickering red sign. SYCAMRE. Thanks, Ange. I turned back toward the dining room, and everyone was gone. Not frozen anymore, just gone. The booths were empty. No plates, no crumbs, no mugs. No sign that anyone had ever even been there. Except for my plate. It was still warm and still half-eaten. And then I saw the waitress. She was standing by the kitchen doors, her silhouette backlit by flickering fluorescent lights. Her face was wrong. The same smile, but her eyes were empty, black and endless, like someone had painted over them. "You shouldn't be here, honey," she said with that same cheerful voice. "Not yet." I stumbled back, knocking over a chair as she took one slow step toward me. "The others, they were waiting, but you just wandered in." She raised a hand and the walls began to shimmer. Literally shimmer like heat waves on asphalt. The checkered floor rippled and the red booths started to fade, becoming outlines and then shadows and then nothing. And then I saw it underneath the illusion. It was charred wood, cracked tile, broken beams, and black soot. Like the diner had burned down long ago. I ran. I don't even remember how I got out. 1 second I was inside, and the next I was on the side of the road, soaked to the bone and gasping for air. My car was still there, parked on gravel that didn't even look like a lot anymore, just weeds and puddles. No neon sign, no glowing windows, just nothing. I drove back to campus that night in silence. No music, no Porch Lore podcast. I kept glancing in the rear view mirror, half expecting to see that red neon flicker back to life. I didn't tell anyone. Not for weeks. Not until I finally looked up Sycamore Diner on a local history site and I found it. It burned to the ground in 1972. A gas leak. The whole place went up at midnight. Everyone inside was killed. 5 patrons, a waitress, and a cook. The photo in the article? The same checkerboard floor, the same red booths, the same neon sign. SYCAMORE. In the corner of the photo, that same waitress, smiling. I never took that back road again. I don't even drive at night anymore if I can help it. And every time I see that neon diner sign, something in me flinches just a little. Because I know I was there, and I know I wasn't supposed to be. But the part that keeps me up sometimes, the part that really makes my stomach turn, That was the best damn grilled cheese I've ever had. I didn't even pay for it. And that's the tale of the night shift at Sycamore Diner. And with that, I will say goodnight, you guys. I know we're about 15 minutes earlier than usual. And I'm sorry, but my stomach hurts. I love you guys so much. And I will see you guys again tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Get some wonderful sleep. And if you guys can't sleep, head on over to my YT channel. Thanks, Ange. Where you guys can listen to these anytime you want. I have a bedtime stories playlist. Really, Angela? Somebody else said that too. Yeah, I don't feel very good. Somebody else said I sound different too. Yeah, I don't feel good, so I'm ending early. But I love you guys so much. And thank you, James. Oh, you can hear it. Yeah. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Thank you, Matt. And don't forget, stay spooky.